Welcome back. Now, every year, April 22nd marks Earth Day, the anniversary of the birth of the environmental movement. And this year, the theme is End Plastic Pollution, aiming to help eradicate the scourge of plastic, which is having a devastating effect on the natural world.
Yeah, with us is Cara Augustenberg from Friends of the Earth to tell us how we can tackle this global problem. Augustenberg?
Did you get it right?
Augustenborg, pretty good.
Augustenborg, okay, nearly there. Good morning to you, Cara.
Morning, Cara.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
A really important subject. Lots of people will have heard the publicity around this all week.
Yeah.
Earth Day, what is it, first of all?
So Earth Day started in 1970. It was a senator in the United States, actually, that decided that he wanted to make environmental issues political issues, too. And we have celebrated Earth Day around the world for 48 years now. This year, they've decided to take the theme of plastic pollution because we discovered this year that the plastic crisis is far worse than we envisioned. There was a sperm whale discovered off the coast of Spain that had over 64 pounds of plastic in its stomach. And of course, we've seen David Attenborough's Blue Planet, which showed a mother albatross feeding her chicks with plastic. So by 2050, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is now saying there will be more plastic in the sea than fish if we continue on this current pathway. So it's nice that
does
Earth Day
give us some perspective,
Yeah.
and these images in particular are just
Horrific.
outstanding. Yeah. So there are now what they call plastic islands in the South Pacific, where all of this plastic is accruing because of ocean circulation, and of course fish are consuming it. And
it's frightening, isn't it?
it is shocking, the scale of this crisis, and urgent that we need to tackle it. And of course, what we're finding here in Ireland is that in fact the amount of plastic packaging that's being put on consumers is only increasing. So we really
So
need
we're
to
not
address
moving in the
this.
right direction at all.
No, I mean, in Ireland, we have very good recycling rates. So
Yes.
about 30% of our plastic is recycled. Globally, it's about 10%. So we're leading in recycling, but ultimately we need to reduce. I mean, plastic is a fossil fuel. We know we need to curtail our fossil fuel use. So it's not just about recycling, it's about reducing the amount of plastic that's in the system in the first place.
Produced in the first place.
The prominence of images like those, Cara, has taken it to the top of the agenda, and people know about it now, and I think people are conscious about it. But are things being done? For example, the shop and drop campaign that people would have seen around their supermarkets yesterday, is that having an impact?
Yeah, at Friends of the Earth, we've noticed that our supporters are really, really sick of plastic, and they've asked us to campaign on this. So we partnered with Voice yesterday to organize this nationwide shop and drop, and we had unprecedented attention and support from the public. Thousands of people left packaging behind at their grocery stores, and already we're seeing the grocery stores respond to that. So
The retailers are cooperating.
Yeah, many of them created receptacles that allowed shoppers to drop their waste, and several of them have indicated that they will continue to have those receptacles out there for shoppers to drop their unwanted packaging. We would hope that once the supermarkets see just how much unwanted packaging there is, they might then put pressure on the brands and the manufacturers
suppliers.
to create.
That's the key, isn't it?
Because
Absolutely.
ultimately they're going to dispose of it in the same way we will, in the recycling bin. So
Yes.
it's really just to make the point, I suppose, to drive home the suppliers need to change the
Yes.
packaging.
Yeah, and at the moment, really, the brands and manufacturers have no incentive to create more environmentally benign packaging because they're not really paying for it. So we need the supermarkets to put that pressure on them to say, actually, our consumers want different packaging.
You have a few pieces here in front of you, and this is a familiar sight in any of the food aisles that inhabit our supermarkets around the country, and so much of it's just completely unnecessary.
Right. So this is my local supermarket that I went to yesterday and just bought the things I would normally buy. And, I wanted to buy the more environmentally benign packaging, but I couldn't find parsnips that were loose. I couldn't buy a cucumber that wasn't wrapped in plastic. Now, you can see a lot of these things already have their own natural protective layer on them. So this is just excessive packaging. The thing that surprised me the most is that when I went to go buy eggs, if I wanted to buy the eggs in the cardboard carton, I was paying 23% more than by buying the eggs in this plastic
So you're being
carton.
penalised.
Yeah, so actually it's more expensive for me to try and make the right decision. Now, this plastic packaging will stay in the environment for hundreds of years, and no one is paying for that environmental damage. So it's actually cheaper for me to buy this than to buy the more environmentally friendly packaging.
So there's something fundamentally wrong
There's
about
something
that.
wrong with that
Have we
system,
become
yeah.
obsessed with hygiene? We want everything wrapped up and, rather than just having these raw ingredients that we throw into our trolley and wash when we get home.
Well, I think that is the perception that some supermarkets are saying, consumers want everything wrapped, but that is not the perception that we're seeing among the public. And you could see the vox pops from Shop and Drop yesterday where consumers were saying, we want to do the right thing, and yet we're being penalised or we can't. So So I do think a lot of this is convenience of the people shipping, you know, the manufacturers that are shipping this stuff just to have that extra layer of protection when they're shipping, that it's not really for the benefit of the consumer, because ultimately the consumer takes this home and straight away puts a lot of this stuff right into the bin and pays for that in order to do so.
So the producers almost have to be forced to do this. We have a graphic here of, you know, ways to reduce consumption. A lot of it is to do with the government and putting in place things that will make producers and retailers comply.
Right, the Sick of Plastic campaign that Friends of the Earth and Voice are partnering on is really to put pressure on the government for these big system changes. So we do need a deposit and return scheme, similar to what we saw, you know, several decades ago with the glass deposit and return scheme. That is part of a waste reduction bill that's currently in second stage in the DAW, but we need to put pressure on the government to do that. The government has said they will ban microbeads, and they've committed to do that, but yet we've seen nothing, and we need to do it.
This is a form of plastic that just doesn't break down.
These are the microplastic beads that are often found in things like lotions, or they give you that kind of exfoliant factor. They're made of plastic, and they're usually washed straight down the drain. We're now finding them in the stomachs of fish and mussels, and of course we're ingesting them when we consume those fish. We're not sure what the health effects are, but we know that certain chemicals in plastics are possible cancer
effects.
Yeah, so there is a global consensus that microbeads should never have been allowed in the system and do need to be banned, and that's something we've committed to, but we haven't seen that legislation. Of course, it needs to happen before the next government. So very much there is a political impetus to make this happen.
What about a punter's point of view? What can we do today that will actually change?
Well, plastic and addressing proper recycling is probably one of the few things that an individual can really make an impact on. So we now have a new recycling list in Ireland. It's recyclinglistireland.ie, and it has simplified recycling for the consumer. So now we are saying that paper, cardboard, tins, aluminium cans, and also rigid plastics, so hard plastics, things like this tray here, can all go in your recycling bin. However, soft plastics, things like this film, are not recyclable. So doing more clear-cut and cleaner recycling, so if we make sure our recycling bins are clean, loose, and dry, that'll help keep the recycling clean enough that we can then sell it on as a commodity and reuse it properly in a more circular economy.
Okay, we'll be
Cara,
more
keep up
mindful.
the good work.
Thank you.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Great stuff.
Thank you, Cara.
Thanks.
Now, still to come, Irish author Melissa Hill will be stopping by.
Plus, we have an apple crumble pie in the kitchen. Stay with us.